I'd say, over the last year and a half or so, and now is just a remarkable all-star when it comes to Hearthstone. And he's taken on Roger. And honestly, I feel like the story for Roger is that it is just another iteration of him just completely trying to who has yet to lose a game.
And another fun statistic to pile on top of that, this Paladin deck from Roger is undefeated in the tournament.
1-0. That's crazy.
That is insane.
Can't believe that he could be undefeated in the tournament in game score thus far, and the Paladin deck be 1-0. And honestly, I'm only being half facetious there because this Paladin deck is wacky looking, and you get a bit of a sense of what's happening from this opening hand, but let me go ahead and hit you.
Do you?
let me go. Well, it's a mech deck, right? There's Kangor's Endless Army. There's some sort of magnetized mech thing going on, but let me hit you with the 6+ mana cards.
Hit me.
2 Mechanical Whelp, a Countess Ashmore, Kangor's Endless Army, of course, the Undertaker, Tyrion Forgering, and Nozari. Let me hit you with the 5 mana cards real quick. Ziliax, War Gears, 2 of them, 2 Mechano Eggs, Harrison Jones. That's like half the deck that costs 5 or more.
Yeah. This
is an aggro meta, TJ.
It's a weird deck. It is an aggro meta, but that's not Roger's strategy. He knew, or at least he thought he knew and ended up knowing.
Yes, that's typically how knowing works.
That pretty much everybody would bring Control Warrior. It's such a powerful deck, and even the players that don't necessarily have a strategy that revolves around Warrior being in their lineup, like a control strategy, even the aggro lineups are bringing Control Warrior.
Yeah.
He had the read that was going to be the case, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to counter that. And he even said, when we interviewed him before the tournament, he said, before he submitted his lineup, he second-guessed himself. He said, this is a crazy lineup. He said it only works if a vast majority of the field brings Control Warrior. And he was nervous. But then as soon as he saw the lineups, he said, I knew I was right.
Yeah. I'm going to go add a footnote and an asterisk to my statement.
An inflection point,
of,
so to speak.
Of this is an aggro meta. And I want to point out that the strongest deck, Rogue, is an aggro deck. The rest of the decks, however, are taking shape around that idea. And that's where Control Warrior really comes in. It does a pretty good job of taking on Rogue in that regard. When you have that aggressive deck with Rogue and you think about the decks that people are going to try to bring to beat Rogue, one of your natural steps then is to go, okay, well, what decks beat those? And a lot of times the answer is aggro decks. And it continues so on and so forth where a metagame develops and you have the aggro, the mid-range, and the control decks afterwards. Kind of an interesting meta that we're in early on here.
Yeah.
Rogue is ridiculous, but, you know, the rest of it looks pretty good to me.
Saw Roger give a little bit of a head shake there when he saw the Henge Clan Thug. There's really only one card that deals with a Henge Clan Thug that's unchecked on the board, and that's True Silver Champion.
That's correct. And, you know, looking at the list overall, Roger also has 1 copy of Valdor Peacekeeper, although that is, you know, at best a temporary answer to Henge Clan Thug.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of Noya modules to try to, you know, block some damage to just a 2/4 Divine Shield Taunt. But there is no equality and there is no consecration in this deck. There's no Wild Pyromancer. It is pretty much, by every stretch of the means, a weird variation of a magnetic deck. And I mean, like, just that's the game plan, magnetic.
Yeah.
There's not really much else going on. And it's kind of weird to think about that when Roger won in his last set versus Tyler, it was against Rogue. Now, I will say I don't think Tyler had the best hand in the world in that game. But the fact that this deck hung at all is very surprising to me.
Yeah. I would agree with you.
So Roger, with the play of the Crystal Smith Kangor, he's going to give himself one more opportunity to draw a True Silver Champion because this is likely to demand attention here from Bloodyface. And so if Bloodyface is going to play that in the most face-up way, you have to attack it with Henge Clan Thug because there are also 2 copies of Blessing of Kings in Roger's deck. And so Bloodyface is thinking, how on earth does this Henge Clan Thug get dealt with? So if he can kill the Kangor and he can protect it somehow, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah. And you mentioned that Roger was able to take the victory against Rogue in the last series. But honestly, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really an important matchup for him. Yes, it gives him 1 additional chance to beat Warrior. That's essentially what it comes down to. But his strategy is to just beat Warrior. And he can do it 3 times in a row. I don't want to say no problem, but relatively easily, as close to no problem as you can get in Conquest.
I'll give you an idea of what that means. Pretty much every player I talked to here competing was practicing against Roger's lineup or helping somebody practice against Roger's lineup. And just time after time after time again, they'd come back and they'd be like, Warrior just doesn't beat Roger's decks. And then about a day and a half into it, Hunter Ace comes up, he goes, oh, we took a game off the Roger lineup with Warrior. We figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, does it work? He goes, sometimes.
I think 1 in 15 was the number that at least one player threw around in regards to
Warrior versus Roger.
Warrior versus Roger. And that's not even like 1 in 15 chance to win the series. That's 1 in 15 chance to just beat it once with one of your decks.
Yeah.
It's just miserable.
I agree with the coined war gear here. I think it's just the way that Roger can perhaps get back into this one.
Has a relatively clean answer for it. Doesn't get to keep the Henge Clan Thug growing, but gets to cycle through his deck a little bit.
Well, could drop prep. If you draw prep, the Henge Clan Thug gets to possibly keep growing. Oh, wow. Okay, so now a real decision point for Bloodyface. I imagine he's more interested in prepping the raiding party, but given the way that the matchup is, I could really see Eviscerate being an option and going from there.
I think with the way his hand is, he doesn't have a great activator for raiding party. So if he uses the prep on the Eviscerate just for the dagger up, I definitely don't think that's worth it. He wants to find that wacko pick. He wants to end this game before Roger's jank catches up to him.
Yes, it's ASAP is how you want to end the game. And so this is really the turn for Bloodyface, where this is likely the most important turn of the game in terms of Roger's hand. Mechano Egg, I think, is the card Bloodyface doesn't want to see, because that will then give Roger the possibility of having Ziliax and then the possibility of having Kangor's Endless Army. I think that's really the one way that Bloodyface loses in this spot. And since Roger doesn't have the Mechano Egg here, it's almost impossible for him to stick a minion for a turn, and Bloodyface is going to steamroll through this game as a result.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Is the Ooze in hand, but I just don't feel like the Ooze is going to be enough to fend off the next turn, because I'm not even convinced that Bloodyface needs to use Waggle Pick. Oh, okay, well now that he's drawn 2 South Sea deckhands, he definitely doesn't need to use Waggle Pick anymore.
Yeah. Also, with the board lead, Waggle Pick could be a liability with the possibility of Ooze. Like, imagine he were to play Waggle Pick there, and then he oozed and it brought back the Henge Clan Thug that he's invested all this early game in playing.
Yeah, True Silver is too little too late, and that's going to be game 1 to Bloodyface. But again, this is how we pretty much expect things to go.
Yes.
The Mage deck from Bloodyface, I think, is still pretty well positioned against Roger's lineup. Roger's more concerned with grinding out a Warrior versus a Warrior game than he is about beating Mage, although a lot of his decks have greed against Mage. But the idea is that Roger is so favored against Warrior that is where he finds the win condition.
Yeah. Pretty expected game 1 win for Bloodyface, and we'll keep saying it.
I'll keep saying it.
That is a pretty unimportant win.
Well, it's an important win because that means that the trend has now been broken. People were having trouble.
One additional chance.
People in practice were having trouble beating Roger. He went 3-0 in his first one.
Unfathomable. Mage versus Hunter is the matchup for game number 2. I feel like out of all of Roger's decks, the Hunter might be the most vulnerable. And I'm not even talking about this specific matchup. I'm mostly talking about the Warrior, because that's the inflection point of the series.
I wish you would just Google some of the words I use when you don't understand them. How long have you not understood what that meant for?
I don't understand 60% of the things that you say.
Oh, well, that's not a surprise.
I nod my head and smile.
Classic TJ. Zul'jin in opening hand for Roger. It's a little stuff to toy with here. Gonna be on the Summoner Mage for Bloodyface, and a couple of the tech inclusions that are in here. The Rabble Bouncers, which I believe are becoming core to the deck, I would say.
Okay, that face from Roger, I mean, we can see that He only has one spell left in the deck, and that's the second Book of Specters. He had both Conjurer's Calling and Opening Hand.
Yeah.
Still funny face.
A lot of 1/1s coming in.
Yeah, this doesn't even look like a weird mech deck at all.
It is. I'll get to in a second. I wanted to talk about the Mage deck.
Go ahead.
Rabble Bouncer's becoming core. 7-mana, 2/7 taunt becomes 1 less mana for each minion your opponent controls.
Yep.
And then pretty straightforward stuff from Bloodyface afterwards. The Dragon package in there, 2 Mind Control techs, a Harrison Jones, 2 copies of Astromancer, and then a Baron Geddon and a Mossy Harbor thrown in there to try to fight off the aggro decks in the later game. Have that sustained pressure where their development's concerned. Roger's deck is once again pretty wacky looking. You know, you see Zul'jin in the opening hand. The Undertaker's in there. 2 Unleash the Beast, Oblivitron, 2 Mechanical Whelp, Cairn, Ziliax, Harrison Jones.
I can't help it.
There's so many 5+ cost cards.
I can't help it.
And a lot of decks work that way, but most of those decks have a few more ways to actually fight stuff off in the early game. Like, typically when you have a greedy deck like this, like take a look at Bloodyfaces, for instance, you have Mind Control techs in there, Sunfury Protectors to try to turn your big minions into board leverage, Scale Worms for some sort of immediate impact. You look at Roger's deck, it's like Spring Paws, some Acidic Swamp Ooze, a Deadly Shot. Spider Bombs are good. That's always a good one to fight on board. What is this Archmage Vargoth doing in here? That's how greedy his lists are. He's just like, yeah, if it's a card I can play to do something with and has an additional benefit somewhere, it's going in.
Yeah.
His decks are quite bad versus any consistent aggressive strategy. However, they can get the job done sometimes. And sometimes in positions like this, he can become the aggressor. So Bloodyface is fearing like Deadly Shot in this spot. Spider Bomb Fireworks tech.
I honestly think in this matchup, just in general, I mean, I'm not an expert on this matchup. I don't think anybody is because Roger's deck is just so unique. But I think you're holding Mountain Giant to be able to play Conjurer's Calling with it on the same turn. Just because of Deadly Shot, because of Spider Bomb plus the Firework tech, there's ways that you can get blown out of the game, and especially in that spot. He knows there's already links in hand. He's got a Leok on board that's buffing the minions. His Mountain Giant would die on board, and that's a really big tool to have for the Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, and honestly, the Archmage Vargoth here does become pretty exceptionally scary in Bloodyface's position, because what that means is if he's holding on to these Conjurer's Callings and trying to just get that one turn secure, as long as that Archmage is there, Deadly Shot can threaten to take them both away.
Yep.
Just a 2/6 right now, but it's the effect that's threatening. And now Khadgar joins the party for Bloodyface. And so that is another thing to look for. Like, can he ever get to a turn where he's able to Mountain Giant Khadgar Conjurer's Calling? And, you know, in this spot, Bloodyface, I think, has more consideration for the Mountain Giant than he did previously, because if Deadly Shot happens, that's the lone copy of Deadly Shot, and the Archmage impact is negated at that point. He's also opening himself to the potential of having the Khadgar Conjurer's Calling next turn if Roger cannot deal with it. So I think this is a good risk versus reward spot.
Yeah, also, you know, kind of just needs to deal with the Vargoth, really.
Yeah.
It can be really threatening, but just the fact that he draws Khadgar, you're taking that risk almost every time, because if that Mountain Giant lives, you win the game effectively.
The payoff is immense, and I don't even think it's effectively. I think he wins the game if this Mountain Giant sticks.
And it's going to stick.
Yeah, Roger has no way to kill it. This is actually an unkillable Mountain Giant for Roger this turn. And honestly, like, it takes a weird combination and 2 turns in order to take it out. Like, Bloodyface is going to be in a colossal lead next turn.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I think it's unrecoverable.
Yeah. I mean, I think, honestly, his best play is probably coin Unleash the Beast, because then he gets to cast Unleash the Beast again at the end of the turn.
I'm looking at, like, Mechanical Whelp and, like, maybe a Ziliax drawn can get to do something. I don't think Unleash the Beasts get there. I think it almost never gets there.
Honestly, don't think anything gets there.
I certainly don't think this gets there.
No. Roger is hoping that, yeah, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, and rightfully so.
But he has it.
Yeah, he does have it. And Roger doesn't.
Yeah. Bloodyface, though.
Easy trade.
Easy trade. Khadgar Conjurer's Calling is thinking, is there anything that could possibly punish me?
No. Yeah. Well, there are, but just not in Roger's team.
Yeah.
Grave Titan number 1, Grave Titan number 2. And then Grave Titan number 3 good. Roger concedes the game. And I honestly, like, I actually need to commend Roger at that spot for the concession, because just save your mental energy. Usually not to this degree.
All right. So it begins.
And so it begins.
I said out of all the matchups, I think I like this one the best. And looking at the matchups, it's the Paladin deck that we saw in the game 1.
The Hunter deck, you mean? Oh, you mean the overall matchups?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
From Roger's perspective. Bloodyface has to beat one of these following decks with his Control Warrior. Paladin, which is the super greedy, magnetic.
Yeah, Magnetic Paladin.
It also goes to Fatigue because it has Immortal Prelate. It's a cool deck to be Warrior with. A Bomb Warrior from Roger's side and the Mech
Now,
Hunter.
I want to add a caveat to the Bomb Warrior, because Rogers included a fairly unusual choice in the Bomb Warrior as well. Even it's teched for control and long style matchups. Archivist Elysiana, a Baleful Banker, and even a copy of Captain Greenskin to add durability to Wrench Caliber to continue to get more bombs. Just over and over and constantly throughout. He's trimmed to 1 copy of Brawl in the Warrior deck.
Yeah.
By the way, there are 0 Warpaths.
He's trying to beat Warrior. This
Yes.
is a Warrior deck that's designed to beat other Warriors. He's got Baleful Banker, Elysiana to go for Fatigue. And if it comes to that style of game, our rules for HCT, if a game goes to the turn timer, which is possible with Control Warrior versus Control Warrior, it's the player with the higher total life total with health and armor combined that wins.
Now,
And if you're playing very similar decks where you have bombs and your opponent does not, you're going to win those games more often than not.
Now, I want to point out another rule of that. I actually asked about this for clarification. If a game goes to a draw, if the series is not at 2-2, it's counted as a win and a loss for both players. So if
Just a win.
it's a win and a loss for both players, both decks get a check mark and they're locked away from the series.
Yeah.
If Roger queues up Warrior in game number 4 and it goes to a draw, Bloodyface wins the series. He cannot queue it up until game 5.
Conquest pick order?
Literally Conquest pick order, although it doesn't
mythical
matter.
beast?
Although it doesn't matter in this scenario for the most part. But he cannot have a draw take place. He can't. There's just no reason to risk it.
Yeah.
Of having the actual even life total in a turn limit game.
Yeah. We'll see.
Very strange.
We'll see if it comes to that.
I don't think it will, but I wanted to be prepared. I was like, I need to ask about this. If this happens, I want to know. We rolled around turn 4. Some stuff's happening now. Roger mainly looking for just a major turn where he absolutely starts to overload Bloodyface with value-oriented cards. And some of the turns I'm looking at are when Mechanical Whelps start entering play, when Oblivitron starts to near, and when you find Zul'jin at some point. Those are really the big ones. There's no copies of Tracking. There's no way to draw cards other than with Ursatron in Roger's deck. So once he, approaches that endgame point, even if Zul'jin is his last card, as long as his life total is fairly healthy, he should be okay in a fatigue scenario to just keep the pressure going and, basically be able to keep Bloodyface to that test. I think it's possible that Roger could go, 4 or 5 draws into fatigue and probably still win.
Yeah. And that's almost exactly what he did against Tyler in his first series. He did take him to fatigue, ran Tyler out of cards, forced Tyler to play the Elysiana. He even got some decent tools with Elysiana. He had brawls. So he had tools to fight, but at that point it was just too much pressure. Now, it was close. And if Tyler had maybe a little bit better of a mid-game, we could have been looking at a different story because Roger was effectively out of cards in that matchup. And Bloodyface does have maybe a few additional tools to fight. The one big difference here is there is 0 silence effects in Bloodyface's list.
Yeah.
He does have double Omega Devastator, but no silences can be a big deal in this matchup.
Yeah, does have an added Big Game Hunter as well. And so I think that in the late stages, Omega Devastator and Big Game Hunter function fairly similarly. The kicker to that is that Roger has the Undertaker in his deck. So the 3 death rattles from that can be immense and can make a difference. So, you know, that's a minion you really want to be able to silence towards the end stage. I'm a little bit surprised that Roger went with the Spider Bomb on this last turn. It sort of in my head, I almost feel like Spider Bomb should just not be coming down because you really want your Undertaker to be loaded up with summons. And so Spider Bomb, I feel like, can be saved for key points. You know, you have a Houndmaster Shaw in hand. Like, you just trade the Spider Bomb for a 1/2.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's just not, even though it's kind of a Death Rattle deck, there's not really many Death Rattles.
It's a true story, but there is Mechanical Whelp, there's Oblivitron, there's Spider Bomb, there's Ursatron. So you have 4 right there.
And Cairn.
And Cairn, so it's 5 now. 3 of those summon, 2 of them do not. And it's very realistic he ends up, you know, getting Spider Bomb and Ursatron on an Undertaker at the end of the game.
But the game plan is not revolving around just the Undertaker. If he has it in his hand, if he's planning just playing on curve, he does just want to get all these Death Rattles in the pool. If he plans to go Cairn into Mechanical Whelp into the Undertaker,
that's, you know, very possible. If that's
then
the
he
case,
just wants to get his Death Rattles in the pool. And also for 9 lives, maybe Spider Bomb is kind of necessary. Probably not, but
I'm looking at the list over on Bloodyface's side, and I'm trying to think of a single minion where...
There's Crowley. That's about it. Or a Ziliaxed Echelbot.
Yeah, it sounds to me like I want to save the Spider Bomb. I don't know. Just something to think about. I mean, there's not really much else going on in this stage. I mean, it's going to be a while before something very important happens. Aside from that Spider Bomb, I think that Spider Bomb could be very important.
I'm going to tuck that one away in the back of my brain. Later on in the broadcast, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Light the fuses!
Give me about 45 minutes until this game is about to come to a close. And then we'll reevaluate.
Yeah, if you're like me and you like the grueling, long battles, this is certainly the series that you want to be tuned into. I hear so many players talk about, like, I can't stand these long games, and in the back, Raven's like, God, you should just concede, TJ. Or TJ's telling Raven, rather, that he should concede, and Raven plays him out when we're sitting in the back playing games. I'm not a concede because the game's going to go long person. I'm a play for the long shot person. I want that victory.
You want that inflection point.
Sure.
Dig for it. Ooh. Oh, he's got 2. Okay.
1 copy of Super Collider is in Bloodyface's deck, so having a second boost for it there. It's really, I think, just think for tempo. You know, like, one of the ways that I think Roger could buy a lot of value in the matchup is by forcing Bloodyface to use tools, lest he take too much damage. And I think this little bit of pressure is certainly something that can get that done.
Absolutely.
Forcing
Bloodyface to use pretty much anything at this stage in the game gives him a leg up in the long term. Yeah,
like, one of the things you don't want to happen is to have Mechanical Whelp in play and have Bloodyface be able to use the Weapons Project to crack the Mechanical Whelp and then brawl. You know, the oozes, I think, very likely to hit for tempo in those kinds of situations. Because there's almost no way that Roger is playing Undertaker before Mechanical Whelp is in the pool.
I would agree with that statement.
Lots of little annoying things. Things that chip away and threaten to have a strong death rattle. They've historically been very good against Warrior.
Yeah.
I'll add an asterisk to that and add Pirate Warrior to the mix there, but semantics.
Yep. Trying to get that Mechanical Whelp online. Make sure he has that activated for the Undertaker and 9 lives. Thinking about it, though, this is not the time to rush your plays.
I was about to note that...
I don't make
Whoa.
mistakes. I bury them.
I am quite surprised by that.
It does get the triple death rattle.
You know what? This actually is kind of interesting to me because the Ursatron that's attached to it, if that draws Oblivitron, Roger wouldn't have a mech in hand for the Oblivitron to activate on. And so I'm curious if he's thinking about that. I mean, that to me would be the most obvious reason to do it this way.
He does have a few other mechs still left in the deck, though. So I think it's like a 1 in 4 maybe to
Yeah,
draw the.
It's just
draw
one of
the
those.
Oblivitron.
It's just one of those in case it happens sort of things. Like I think when you're playing these big mid-range decks, you do really need to think about what is your best and perfect outcome in a lot of these scenarios. And if your best and perfect outcome is you get Oblivitron from this Undertaker dying, and you have a Mechanical Whelp still in your hand because of that, that sounds like a good deal to me.
And as I mentioned earlier, the Undertaker's not.
It's not core.
It's not core. It's not
necessary.
the main game plan of the Hunter deck. It's just an extra tool that helps you fight really well against control decks.
Just a big dumb thing.
That's right.
And big dumb things are good against control decks.
And if you get a resource out of a big resource out of Bloodyface here, you're probably feeling pretty good. If Big Game Hunter comes down here, that means those 7/7s that come out of that Mechanical Whelp.
It means that big game hunter is going to go away. So Bloodyface, I think, has found a reasonable way to try to contest this Undertaker, but some damage is going to start pouring on. And so for Roger, you know, I'm curious how much more you need to add to board in a situation like this. I think the Animal Companion is a bit dangerous, specifically because of Super Collider, but if your opponent has a Super Collider to Undertaker, to kill it into your Huffer, that sounds like a pretty reasonable deal to me. Also, if you get Huffer, you might just trade it off.
Yeah.
Wow, saving the Wind Blast and taking 6 damage instead.
I don't think he cares about the damage. Bloodyface is not going to be applying pressure.
And the Shaw as well.
My pack will hunt you down.
I'm plumb surprised.
He's saying if you brawl here, I solo 4/5. It's one brawl out of the way.
I think if I'm Bloodyface, I'm almost certainly brawling here. I don't really know if he has an option.
But if he brawls here and Undertaker doesn't live, he's still looking at 2 reasonably sized minions. Because it's whatever survives the brawl.
You got to do something. You can't just sit here.
He could Hecklebot brawl, but then if you Hecklebot and it pulls out a Mechanical Whelp, and you brawl.
I think the Hecklebot needs to be saved for like a very specific moment. And I definitely don't think this is it. Like, I feel like if you Hecklebot here, you can just die.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a Hecklebot Ziliax. I could see that, but I feel like stuff like Deadly Shot is so massive against you at that point. You know, another Spider Bomb effect. Just so many things can go wrong. Bloodyface is digging deep, though, and I don't blame him. Leads with Shield Block. I could see Big Game Hunter being the play and then look for a brawl on turn 10. I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any minions in play anyway, so the Shaw effect's negated. Wow.
Whoa. Ho, ho.
Wow. All right, well,
So does he want to go BGH brawl?
Well, Bloodyface just strapped on his big boy shoes and said, all right, I'm taking a hit here. This is a chin check right here. How steel and iron of a chin does Bloodyface have? That is a lot of Damahe to take. I would not take that much personally. I think this could be foolish.
Sometimes in unfavorable matchups, you got to take risks, but that honestly doesn't seem like a risk to me. That just seems like he wasn't entirely sure what he wanted to do, so he wanted another turn to evaluate and hope that Roger potentially overextended into a brawl.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word foolish, but I wanted to let you know that that's the word that came to my head. I'm not quite confident enough to call it that, though.
All right, well, now he's seen a Mechanical Whelp, so Hecklebot brawl is a little bit better.
Dead or alive.
So the order of death rattles here is pretty massive. Undertaker would happen first, drawing with the Ursatron, and then the Oblivitron would activate should they both die simultaneously.
Unity. Precision.
I don't know, Kev.
He's going to heal up to 20. Deadly Shot's going to take this out. 18 damage showing.
Yeah, Bloodyface is about to go to 2. He took too much damage here. I see what the game plan was, though. If that Deadly Shot wasn't there, I think Bloodyface had a really strong opportunity to actually recover from this spot. And I think given what just happened, it's unrecoverable. Oh, Weapons Project. So you can Weapons Project, attack the Mechanical Whelp, and then you can brawl, armor up shield slam. So if Roger draws a mech that doesn't do anything, and then the Oblivion activates on that, Bloodyface can get an almost entirely clear board in this spot.
You also still have to think about whatever minion survives from the brawl. If Undertaker survives...
I just forgot as well that the weapons project gives Roger the 2/3 weapon as well. So in the situation I described, 8 damage, very possible in that regard.
Still has the vicious scrap pound to maybe gain a little bit of additional armor if he absolutely needs to.
Well, he doesn't have... That doesn't do anything right now. It's just a 2/2.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have rush. What a world we live in.
Wow, Oblivion wins the brawl.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, the Spider Bomb has magnetic, so that's enough. There we go. Roger gets his first point on the board. Bloodyface played a bit risky there, but I see what the plan was. That's
one big swing turn.
That's the desperation that Bloodyface felt in the matchup. Now, it doesn't look like it's a very good chance for him. And so, you know, to reiterate on this Paladin deck, it is basically a magnetic Paladin deck. Your goal is to make some massive stuff and have Kangor's Endless Army and the Undertaker be too much for your opponent to handle at those end stages of the game. And I think that very well can be true in this matchup, where Bloodyface, kind of akin to the way that he played the last one, I think that that's potentially a better way to play against this Paladin deck in the grand scheme of things, because there are so many ways that Roger can run away with just an immense amount of value. And if you leave something on board to try to make one of those plays, punish you with the Blessing of Kings. However, the caveat there is he has to punish with Blessing of Kings. And so, talking in an interview about this matchup and Bloodyface going over his odds of winning and so on and so forth, he talked about not including a silence in the Warrior deck, because who would be crazy enough to implement a strategy like Roger's? And he goes, well, Roger proved me wrong. He brought this crazy stuff where I need silences.
Yeah. Well, so the glaring issue to me is not the fact that there's no silence for all this magnetic nonsense. The fact that there's no silence for the Immortal Prelate. Roger can never fatigue.
It's true, but I mean, Bloodyface is in a nice similar spot to that. With Archivist Elysiana and Youthful Brewmaster, it is pretty tough to actually go into fatigue for more than just a few points. So kind of talking about that Conquest rule that I described, where if the game goes to the turn limit, it's counted as a check mark for both players unless it's game 5. I think that that's a realistic win condition for Bloodyface.
Well, the problem is Roger's going to be drawing probably what is a large thing at that stage of the game over and over every turn. Whereas Bloodyface is going to be drawing something that he discovered off of Elysiana.
Sure, but I'm looking at Dr. Boom Mad Genius in hand right now, and there's 2 natural copies of Omega Devastator in Bloodyface's deck. He doesn't necessarily have to fatigue Roger or beat Roger. He has to take it to a turn limit. That is, if I'm correct in the rule, which I'm hoping an admin is listening and can get me some word on this, I really hope I didn't dream this in a weird lucid dream.
No, you're correct.
Okay, there we go.
If they go to turn limit and it's effectively a tie, both players win.
Yeah, that's a real win condition for Bloodyface, I think. Whoa.
Tempo!
Defend the gates!
Get him!
The bigger one to me is that's the brew gone from Elysiana. So Bloodyface has said, that turn limit nonsense, that's not possible.
Yeah. I just think at some point he's just never gonna get there, right? Like, this deck just has so much punch in the late game.
Darius never getting another overkill again.
Well, he's got Boom on 7. That helps.
It helps, but my goodness, Roger's hand is so much big stuff. And this is, I don't like this kill him plan. I really don't. I think that Brewmaster was foolish. I'm going to say it this time. I think that Bloodyface's realistic win condition is amass a number of Omega Devastators and just generic mech stuff in general. Then you take it to a turn limit. I genuinely think that is a realistic win condition this game, and it's gone now, I think. Not entirely. I mean, Elysiana still discovers cards, so you could find some way to do it again. But I think his hand was good enough to get to that point. I really believe that. You still have to have a lot of things go right. But this Darius Crowley go face, use the Brewmaster, kill the 5/5 thing for tempo with your militia commander, that's not going to work. That's not how the deck works.
Quickly.
I don't buy that for a second. Prove me wrong. I double dare you. All right, I was getting a little out of hand. Sorry.
Sometimes it just bees that way.
Great Robert Minnick once said that. He had an unlucky string of cards. He rattled that off. He walked out the shop. Never saw him again.
I don't know who that is.
This would be a good
The guy I got the quote from.
Okay.
That was like 18 years ago now.
Only 90s kids would get it.
Yeah, well, get this.
Potion 3.
Good thing Roger only has Tyrion, Ziliax, Nozari.
That belongs
Yeah.
in a museum.
So one of the funny things about Roger's Paladin lineup that we called him out on when we interviewed the players before the match took place is the double Christology in his deck. He actually only has Bronze Gatekeeper, Acolyte of Pain, and Crystal Smith Kangor as one attack minions in the deck. Which means that even if he doesn't draw any of those, if he plays one Christology, his second Christology will only pull one minion maximum. And we asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, he said, I realized after I submitted that probably should have cut that second Christology for a Bronze Gatekeeper. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter.
And that's exactly what I was going to, really follow up on is look at how much mana is in Roger's hand right now. Do you really think he cares about a single dead draw sometimes? No siree, Bob. There's 44 mana in hand right now, not counting the Echo on Sound the Bells.
Yeah.
So you could take that up to 52, and I didn't count the Christology.
I think the highest win rate play there was to just play Elysiana and hope you get Grom, Interrage, Grom, Interrage.
No, I don't think that's true.
I think it likely. It definitely is not the highest win rate play. Bloodyface's hand, though, is starting to look more and more meek.
Yeah, and again, that's why I dislike the pressure plan, literally because of that.
Yeah. He did, he got a good amount of damage in. He brought Roger all the way down to 18.
Ooh, 12. That's a very aggressive warrior start.
Also, the funny thing is, Dynomatic just much weaker against these decks that Roger's brought.
Yeah, I'd be curious to actually see if Bloodyface maybe can time that for something. Like, this
There are
3/7
a lot of non-mechs, but
like this 3/7's not doing anything right now. Like, big deal, it's going to heal him back to full. Well, that plan sailed out the window as soon as Darius Crowley got Aldor Peacekeeper. Like, literally that lone card and about 17 other cards in the deck did it.
well, there's only 2.
Mechano Egg was good enough, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
With Ziliax in hand, Mechano Egg was definitely good enough.
Yeah, and so I think given that sort of circumstance, Bloodyface needs to find extra value from somewhere. And if that means holding on to this Dynomatic until, it just deals some damage to a Tyrion and maybe, a Dr. Boom hero power can finish it off, that's probably something he needs to consider. Wow. He is just going in. Yeah, at this point, I think I probably would have rather just lasered the egg and called it a day. I see Bloodyface's concern, though. You do want to use your shield slams before your armor gets shredded off.
Yeah. Especially post Dr. Boom, you just have that 1 and 4 each turn to roll the blast shield to try and get the additional armor.
Whoa! me? What was that?
I'm offended.
I am extremely offended.
All right, let's take a step back and think about what that means.
It means Bloodyface has 8 extra health. Where do you think the 1/1s are going? Surprise?
Were there any?
Now, I know for a fact that that attack was not correct.
Were there any health break points that defended against? Any other magnetic possibilities that could have made the difference? No, because he made the trade himself.
Let's take a look at the burst damage from Bloodyface's deck. 1 copy of Super Collider and a Magnetic Ziliax. I suppose in the face of a big game hunter,
Ooh, a Mega Devastator.
you're going to need a bunch of those.
Well, let's start counting.
Yeah, and the health breakpoints, you have an Uzari in hand. It's just 8 extra health for... I'm flabbergasted. I know it's past. I'm just upset.
I think he's just flexing.
That's possible, I guess. He's like, check this out.
Yeah. You dare me to trade this 8-attack minion into a 1/1?
Think about how mad Admiral is going to be.
Reporting for duty. I don't make mistakes. I bury them.
Yeah, that card is really good when a warrior player doesn't have a silence.
Yep, Mortal Prelate plus the Undertaker.
Yeah. You can hear the claps in the crowd.
Yeah, they're like, oh, cool.
I will, admittedly, that's impressive. Like, it's very rare that you get to see the card this utilized in a tournament setting, let alone at World Championships.
Okay, then.
That's how I feel.
Now, we talked earlier about saving your mental energy.
I think Bloodyface can still win this game.
Okay.
I really do. Look, Dr. Boom can do some silly things.
What odds?
Oh, good enough that you need to keep playing. And
Okay.
even if that's like 1,000 to 1, I think you need to keep playing. Like, the game means so much. This game right here, if Bloodyface manages to just hit Jin the entire way and win, could be the difference in winning and losing the tournament.
I agree, but I do think this is also the hardest matchup for Bloodyface to win with the Warrior deck.
Now it's just a point of pride when you say that.
True.
Brawl turn coming.
And it's back in the deck.
Wow, imagine if Bloodyface just had 8 less health.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow, okay, so pretty crazy outcome here. And that's what I mean, like, stuff like that can happen. Bloodyface still has Ziliax in hand. He needs to hang on to that for a dire moment.
All right, I'm going to lower those odds now from 1,000 to 1 to 500 to 1.
Very scientific numbers.
Reason being,
I wonder.
there's a chance that Elysiana picks up a silence.
What if it just discovers 5 brawls?
No, because he's just going to play 1 minion at a time.
So here's how it works. You go Dr. Boom Hero Power Discover, get Omega Devastator, you brawl, you Omega Devastator.
Me think.
okay.
Roger develops, you use a 7 armor hero power. It flips back over to Discover again. You just keep getting that over and over.
So if he can keep removing these board states and eventually get to the point where he plays Archivist Elysiana, that card can do some crazy things. It can get a lot of weird stuff.
It's unusual that happens, but it can happen.
Most of the time, it gives you
That belongs.
cards that you're not super happy to draw one of each turn.
Picture Arena. Ooh. Bloodyface's got some stuff cooking now. I can see him hanging in here for a while now. He's still got 2 Warpaths. Still got the other copy of Brawl. Has now picked up Omega Assembly. You just got to get the right outcomes.
Okay, then.
So looking for one Omega Devastator, doesn't find it. Galvanizer. Weaponized Pinata, though. That could be interesting.
All charged up.
trying to think of the best legendary that Bloodyface could find.
Oh, I love that music.
Caligos seems like it could be pretty good. Potentially hand you a lot of extra mana.
Azalina?
Azalina could be very good. Because Azalina maintains the buff, so like if there's a turn, say that Roger, for whatever reason, didn't play Undertaker, and you Azalina that from your hand,
Let me think.
possibilities.
Lysiana?
I think he needs a board impact. Roger is just... If he attacks this Galvanizer with this 5/5, I'm going to be shocked. Okay.
I think that time would have been even worse considering he had a 2/2 to attack it with. If he really felt like he wanted to trade.
It was very weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm not over it. I need a minute. That poor face damage.
Take all the minutes you need. We got plenty of them left.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then.
These are very difficult turns to navigate.
Yeah, honestly, stuff like Pinata Ziliax being discounted is like a really major deal too. Like, the thing about it is Bloodyface needs to find a way to leverage health effectively and then have the Ziliax to be able to leverage the tempo swing and get back the life that he's used. I think that's really the game plan for Bloodyface, and that is a very long, elaborate position to get to. And that probably means something in the vein of taking a big hit from an egg.
A BGH in the weaponized Pinata to rush in.
Well, I think here I would probably save the Pinata. I'm probably looking more towards using the hero powers. You do still need to conserve resources. The resources need to be relevant, though. So I think you just bite the bullet here. Take the damage.
Yeah. Weaponized Pinata, the only reason I can see for playing it is if you get a legendary that could affect your game plan, but I can't think of a single one that would do that.
Yeah. And then also, it's like Bloodyface needs to be cycling these hero powers when their effective Undertaker gets drawn again.
I was just like, oh, cool. Forgot I had that. What else did I put in this deck?
Yeah. Has he drawn Crystologies yet?
He drew a Crystology, yeah.
Okay.
One card that I didn't mention earlier because I just always assumed that it's buffed was the Immortal Prelate. Gonna get another one.
Yeah, those are the only death rattles in the deck, so it's going to keep getting those. So Bloodyface.
Well, Tyrion Fordring is also a death rattle, so that could muddy the pool a little bit.
Right, I don't think that Roger is interested in playing Tyrion this game. I actually think Tyrion stays in hand because you really don't want to risk Immortal Prelate not hitting the Undertaker.
Yeah, you just want to keep...
Oh, another Ziliax. Oh, that's a big deal. You know, unlike the Hunter game, Bloodyface, again, he's free to take some amount of damage in this matchup because it doesn't have that compounded pressure. It doesn't have that hero power chipping away too on top of the things that are happening. There's no weird, crazy turns that are going to be absolutely insane. It's leverage your life total, buy some tempo, use the Ziliax to do it again and get the life back.
Precision.
So a spot like this, you know, this one's a little bit rough because Roger has a way to magnetic onto that to crack the shield. I don't know about that Ziliax usage. I personally would not have done that. I would have taken the hit for 8. But it's situations like these where there's so much subjectivity to every single thing that happens. Like, to say with authority that one thing is right or wrong, outside of that trade into the 1/1, definitely can't do.
Never going to let it go.
It's a feel, it's an intuition. How experienced are you?
Are you kind of picking up the direction of where this game is going?
I am.
It's Infinite Undertaker. Bloodyface is picking up resources to kind of deal with the board state.
It's fight for turn limit. Again, it sounds crazy, but the fact that Brewmaster's gone, that's what worries me.
Move quickly.
Yeah.
It really worries me because I think that Bloodyface has a very realistic chance of taking this the distance. Turns like that are terrifying.
So he gets Grom
No.
from the weaponized pinata.
The damage can't happen. The rest of it
But
can.
you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm going to make sure we keep it down.
I see Grom, I think one thing.
Trade.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
See what I mean? Spots like this. Like, did that Ziliax really need to be used? It almost put him in a worse position because Undertaker could trade in.
Yeah.
Perhaps he was thinking about last game, where he's like, I didn't do enough to contest that board. Applying that in there as well.
Yeah, kind of the benefit that we have is that we have a bunch of people all watching the same game. Me and you are watching it. People at home, if they're not watching with anybody, they at least got Twitch chat. But Bloodyface and Roger are up there on their own. They can't talk to anybody between these games. They have nobody to bounce ideas off of.
Major outcome there. Bloodyface needed that to happen. He needs Immortal Prelate. I'm sorry, he needs the Undertaker to probably be the last card in Roger's deck as well. Oh my. Wow.
Just keep them coming.
And that's this is what the deck's designed to do. And I think now Bloodyface is officially in trouble. He needed that to be the last card because this is where the tempo battle was really occurring. And he might have officially lost it. You're going to have to discover some real good stuff.
I can't even think.
Well, Mega Devastator, that's always the one you want.
But even then,
Scrap Out is a good second because Magnetic Ziliax onto that effectively doubles the lifesteal.
Yeah.
Returns with the armor on top of it. He just doesn't have a way to fight the tempo this turn, and that's probably enough to buy Roger this game.
but this is going to be just check after check after check.
Oh,
Bloodyface.
then.
At a certain point, we'll have to just check every Undertaker. Turn after turn after turn. Into Fatigue, into Elysiana.
Think about how you do that. It's by some point gaining tempo. Roger has no way to reset that tempo other than creating board tension. That is it. And it does it extremely effectively in this kind of matchup. But Bloodyface has been reduced.
Oh, this is cute. The damage from Missile Launcher will actually gain the armor.
It's a true story.
There's your Scrap Out.
Yeah, that's a good way to, perhaps buy some of that life total. Maybe find a turn where you can get some time. But
Yeah.
again, just the Undertaker is just so massively powerful. We haven't even seen Kangor's Endless Army yet, have we? I don't think we have.
I don't know. I don't think so.
And look at the punish here. Roger knows that the brawls are gone.
Omega Devastator. Can take out this 10-11.
I honestly, and kind of look at this turn right here with the way that Omega Devastator with the Ziliax will work. Bloodyface can just chin the 10 to knock it off with the 2-1 weapon.
And then heal it back up at least some. And
Yeah.
even plop, because of the Galvanizer reduction on the Ziliax, can even play the Blast Shield to have a big health gain swing here.
Yeah. I think this is one you could take on the chin. However, I also think it's one where you can just use Ziliax. I think it's more effective to chin it, though. You don't even have to attack the Undertaker in this spot. Make Roger take 2 turns to activate that Death Rattle, and buy yourself some tempo and some leverage. That's the key. So now that Undertaker has lifesteal forever, but the Tyrion's going to come down here. This is a big moment because now Roger can lose the Immortal Prelate buff on the Undertaker. It's a possibility now.
Could lose it forever.
And another Omega Devastator gets drawn, and that's a really big deal.
That Tyrion play is actually pretty crucial.
I think that's a blunder from Roger. And Bloodyface, look at the difference in body language since he's been seeing what's happening now. That's a mistake from Roger to risk the Undertaker in that manner.
I'm trying to figure out a reason why he would play it. He's not under too much pressure. Maybe he's thinking that because of the tempo that Bloodyface would gain by getting the essentially free trade onto the Undertaker, if he didn't draw it right away, or let's say the Undertaker went to the bottom part of his deck, he doesn't have really ways to fight on board. So maybe Bloodyface wins from that scenario just by trucking for 7 each turn. If he finds a way to deal with the 7/7 that comes out. I don't know.
I feel like this is the turn to kill Undertaker. I feel like this is absolutely the turn to kill Undertaker here.
This game swung around very quickly.
The face damage doesn't matter. The Undertaker has lifesteal for the rest of the game, and now Roger gets to land Sound the Bells on it to make it like a million, and then Bloodyface is going to have a really tough time handling it for the rest of the game. I think this was the turn to kill it as a nod specifically to Sound the Bells. But again, to have the presence of mind to be considering all of those factors. Whoa. What? I mean, I get it's for the death rattle on the Undertaker. I forgot that it retains all the death rattle buffs.
Yep.
So it has Immortal Prelate attached eternally for it. Is that correct? Because the Immortal Prelate text is part of that, right?
Yeah, you're
I am
right.
foolish, and I apologize. I'm a Philistine.
I don't know what that word means.
It means I'm an uncultured, uncouth swine, or something along those lines.
Yeah, the Undertaker, when it's played, it doesn't give you the 3 death rattles that it initially had. Because of the Immortal Prelate, it keeps it forever.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just correct. That's just 100% correct. And because it keeps everything forever, that means that all of these mechs were just death rattles that kept building up and building up. And he knows that the brawls are gone, so he knows that he wins.
Yeah. I feel foolish now.
Well, I do too. Let's just retire now. Go out while we're on the bottom.
I give up.
Yeah.
Self-destruct!
Strap in, because this one, while we talked about how the last one had a very small chance to go to turn timer, and a lot of weird stuff had to happen for that to be the case.
It was extremely unlikely.
It had to be Bloodyface ripping Elysiana very early on and just ripping a silence to get rid of the Undertaker.
In this matchup, it's very different. It is the inability for either player to effectively apply pressure, and thus a reliance on fending off fatigue for an insane number of turns. This matchup is, I'd say, a lot more technical for Bloodyface than the previous two have been, where the other ones are more demanding of creative play and opportunity. This one is much more demanding, I think, of technical play, where there's a few rules, I think, that Bloodyface needs to keep in mind. It's number one, Weapons Project, I think, is probably entirely unusable until he sees a Wrench Caliber. He needs to be negating those bombs. The other one is that I think he is free to draw a little bit more aggressively. I think with the additional 20 cards you can get from Archivist Elysiana, you have a lot more reasonable opportunity.
Well, they both have ways to get 20 more cards from Elysiana.
Correct. It's just hard to go to fatigue, so if you need to cycle aggressively, so be it. And then number three, because the rule for this game is turn timer, that extra life means a whole lot.
Yep.
So how do you maximize all those factors? Chip damage matters. Tempo matters. saving tools for the exact time you need them matters.
Defend the gates!
It's a bunch of trading back and forth.
These town criers just...
They're getting in that damage.
And it's honestly, there is a strategic measure to not trading with your town criers ever. And that big strategic measure is that if Roger's not going to be the one to trade first, you can't be the one to trade back, because then it just seeds over additional damage to Roger's side. Now, Bloodyface not using the other militia commander here, that is a bit of a question mark for me. It opened him almost exactly to Darius Crowley in this spot, so now there is a bit of pressure on that he has to consider.
Yeah. Ends up working out for him, because now he gets to trade this militia commander into the Darius Crowley.
Yeah, working out for him, I think, is a...
well, it could have snowballed.
It's a
That's all I'm
subjective
saying.
thing. Well, it's just the chip damage adds up now.
Yeah.
Advantage Roger.
Drink up the army.
Things just got serious.
Yeah. We talked at length about the inclusion of Captain Greenskin in this list.
Well, I mean, a lot of that I think Roger just anticipates Bloodyface being wise enough to just hang on to weapons projects until the right time.
Yeah, weapons projects. He also has the Harrison Jones, as we can see in the hand. I don't think Captain Greenskin is ever meaningfully landing on Wrench Caliber unless you Wrench Caliber 4, Greenskin on 5. The maximum chance to dodge the weapons projects in Harrison.
So something to consider is that there's 2 Hecklebots in Bloodyface's deck. The Elysiana is now in hand, so he can't deny that, but he can still deny Baleful Banker with the Hecklebot.
Yeah. Which is a pretty big deal.
Ooh, yeah, you see how Bloodyface, he reached for the weapons project here and slowed himself down. I think he does need to slow down here and really take his time, because you're going to have to eliminate Wrench Calibers. You do have a Harrison Jones. You know, maybe just going for weapons project and Harrison here for card draw is a realistic thing. But that's extra bombs for Roger somewhere down the road.
Yeah. Still has 1 weapons project left in the deck, so he's got an answer to one of them. But just feeling like he needs to start drawing aggressively. And Roger's got a big tempo game plan in the works right now. Sephorian Bomber, Shield Slam, keep pushing additional damage.
5/5 bodies lining up super nice. Bloodyface going into 8 mana with Warpath. Ooh, that is clean.
Yeah. Now, Bloodyface still at a healthy life total. He's not in any risk of dying, even with all the bombs in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty free to use Brawl fairly aggressively in the matchup.
That's going to be a poor card.
Yeah, it's
a lot of the time.
This is a poor scenario as well. I mean, 2 of the outcomes, your opponent keeps a 5/5 around. So, you know, Brawl feels a little bit more like Deadly Shot here for the most part. However, you know, there's a very big outcome with Brawl, and it's the 1/2 living. If the 1/2 lives, that Brawl looks golden. It's not Brawl this turn. I imagine Darius Crowley would come in to try to buy some value. However,
that's a lot of damage you're taking.
Yes, and 1 more piece of removal can really shut that down. I think if I'm in Bloodyface's spot here, one of my biggest considerations is probably Brawl, and if that fails, to go a different route with it. This is also an outcome that Bloodyface is okay with. And is attacking with the weapons project as a nod to Harrison Jones. Yep.
At this point, he doesn't really want Roger drawing cards, but that just means he gets closer to more of those bomb cards. Continuing the tempo.
Yeah, but this opens Roger up for finally the first alleviation for Bloodyface. He's taking a lot of damage in the meantime. And that raised the hand there as a call for an admin, so there is something in place.
Yep.
We'll get word of what that is shortly, and hopefully get the issue sorted as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Looking at the current board state, though, it's pretty lined up for Bloodyface to Warpath 3 times, hit the armor button.
In the same seat as Hunter Ace from earlier, I imagine it's something with the white noise, as is.
Yep.
No bombs have been drawn.
Light the fuses!
4 bombs.
Yep.
Lethal potential here for Roger.
I was kind of wondering why he played it this way, and this is literally the reason.
I don't know. That's a long shot.
Why
man.
would you just swing with the wrench caliber like that?
You have to call me admirable?
I was going to say, like, just after what's been going on, like, just wait.
He's got another wrench caliber in hand, though.
So I'm itching to use it.
His game plan is very obvious right now. He's losing in the resource battle. He's winning in the health battle.
What now?
Next turn, he's going Clockwork Goblin Wrench Caliber, and he's saying,
Deal with it.
light me up, baby.
What now?
What happens if Bloodyface just tempos out 2 Omega Devastators? Like, you just blow up 2 things, and you go, wow, this is 8 attack. I think that's the best course of action here, honestly.
What else does he do? Warpath Armor Up?
I think it's reasonable. Do the Omega Devastators down the line.
Not too much big stuff in the deck. Except for,
The thing is, just use your spells first.
yeah.
And then,
Now, one thing we haven't talked about, with all these bombs in the deck, Blastmaster Boom is a big card.
yeah, Roger's under some heat here. I mean, 8 damage is nothing to scoff at.
He is at a comfortable 43 health.
The 8 Eternal changed that quick. Remember, there's no Warpath, there's 1 Brawl in Roger's deck.
Job done.
5 bombs in the deck.
6 bombs in the deck.
That's 6? Oh,
2
the Clockwork
Sephora
Goblin.
bombs.
There we go.
2 Wrench Calibers. 1 Clockwork Goblin and 1 additional swing.
Oh, 5 bombs in the deck.
Oh, that Dr. Boom?
Oh,
I'm so glad.
major pickup for
Yeah.
Bloodyface.
That was
Laser to take out the 3/3, and now 8 damage gets to connect with Roger. So 5 bombs left in Bloodyface's deck. You can go up to 6 with the Wrench Caliber. And boy, I wish I had the card count on that side, because this is important information.
pretty sure our card counter just couldn't keep up. 9? 14.
So 5 of Bloodyface's 14 cards are bombs.
So after this turn, if he swings the Wrench Caliber, it'll be 6 out of 15.
So just over a third of the deck. Roger, armor up button. He's thinking about passing here. I don't know about that one.
So there is a 4-bomb breakpoint available. That's very low odds. Very low odds.
I think you take him.
We sort of jokingly talked about this before the tournament took
There's
place.
no way he's considering Elysiana.
He's still
No
got,
way.
He's still got Blastmaster Boom in his deck.
Yeah, there's no way he can play Elysiana here. I don't believe that. I mean, this hand is very dry right now. Celiax gets drawn.
Oh my goodness.
Huge draw for Bloodyface.
7 heal.
11 damage, 12 from the Kaboom.
Now the bombs just don't even matter.
I mean,
He doesn't have a way to deal with this Omega Devastator buffed by
oh
Ziliax.
boy. Big draw. Low outcome. Extremely low outcome. I think Roger has to go for a brawl here. He's got to throw the Demolisher in there. He needs every point of chance he can get. This brawl is huge right now. Roger covers his face. He can't bear to watch. What? The Ziliax Omega Devastator lives, and Roger is about to get Omega Devastated. Another Devastator.
Just add insult to injury. Shield
5
blocks
bombs
into a
left.
bomb.
Hang on, there's only 5 bombs left. So there is 0% chance Bloodyface could die in that position. And he actually was thinking about it. If he takes enough damage, what that means is that he can heal some of it back up.
Yeah. He's basically negating every opportunity that Roger would have to have some type of bomb lethal. Even if
Roger he's going to die. Something's got to happen here. And it's got to be now. He does not have time to mess around anymore. You think about those tempo shield slams and the chip damage he got in. How badly did he need those shield slams now?
What now?
Warrior matchups are about patience and deliberance. I said it at the start, it's much more technical play. And I think Roger had a good aggressive start. At some point, though, perhaps he might have gotten too aggressive. Roger concedes, and Bloodyface moves out of the group and defeats what many were calling an unwinnable matchup for the Control Warrior player.